project. I think this is for our meetings. We usually meet in AltSpace. This is maybe our second time here in Hubs and WebXR. The audio thing is one thing to keep in mind. If you can't hear somebody, you can also click on them and increase just their volume. You can also decrease people's volumes. If you block somebody, though, it's kind of hard to undo. It can be done, but try to avoid accidentally clicking on that. Is there any other survival tips for Hubs and WebXR?
Can we actually mute somebody? I mean, change their volume?
You can lower and raise the volume. If you're on a Quest, just push the A button while you're aiming at somebody.
Yep.
And then it's kind of weird. You go to plus and minus and hit the trigger to increase one person's volume. So for the presenter, you might want to do that.
It's spacebar when you're on desktop. Hold down spacebar.
Oh, great tip. But yeah, and we can't. We don't have any kind of shared screen today. So if anybody wants to do a quick verbal plug for the group, we can just do that right now, or we can just go right into the presentation. Anyone? Gone. Hey Matt. Was there any good press releases today, Matt? I don't hear your mic.
I don't know. Was there, Zach?
Fine. Don't talk about it. No, this is the perfect group. Let them know.
Spill the beans.
I don't know. It's just so we worked on a project with 3M for their new folded optics that they're providing to the VR industry. So they just finally released a press release about it today, so I can actually say something about it. Otherwise, I couldn't really talk about it. But basically, like the normal Fresnel lenses are like 2 to 3 times thicker than their folded optics path, so it should make VR headsets be a lot thinner. And they're getting ready to start mass production, so they're going to be available for any vendors that want to use them in their headsets. So you should see them start to come out. They built a reference headset with it that they showed off at CES, so that's where this all came from. But so there's a press release out that has a link to their page, and it has a bunch of videos that shows teardown of their device and shows the optical path and all that kind of stuff. So check it out.
Cool. Yeah, and
awesome.
It's
great.
The first change to production optics, I think, since 2013 when the DevKit 1 shipped. Everybody used Fresnel since then, and this is the first attempt to mass produce something else.
It's pretty sweet. It doesn't have any like light rays or anything in it because it's just a normal lens. It doesn't have any channels in it or anything. It's like a regular pancake lens. It's like 2 or 3 lenses, but it's in a really small stack. It's about like half an inch thick or something.
Yep. So you can probably I could tweet out that link too if people can't find it, because it's not super Googleable, but it's 3M, VR will probably get you there. And they called it HARP, which I don't even remember what it stands for.
Pegatron is the company they partnered with. And I get them mixed up. And they're like they're basically ASUS. So
yeah. But
I
interesting
don't know
stuff.
Who owns who, but it's ASUS at some point in there. So
maybe someday when we can get together in person, you'll have one in your hands and you can bring it to a meeting. We can look through it.
A lot of the dev work I did was just throwing it over to Taipei and asking if it worked. So it was COVID times, so it was fun. But
unprecedented times. Cool. Yeah. Anybody else wants to share with the group? Last call. Going. Gone. All right. You want to kick us off, Brian, and let us know what we're going to hear about and where we are?
Yeah, sure. Thanks a bunch for the intro. Thanks again, everybody, for coming on out this evening to our wonderful Twins XR space. I'm Brian Skalak. I am from the REM5 team, more specifically the REM5 STUDIOS. Amir, the co-founder of REM5, is in the back there in the red, the strong silent type. And so I guess a little bit about REM5 from the beginning. You guys maybe know of us as we have a physical space out in St. Louis Park where we deliver food, fun, beer, pizza, and get a lot of people into VR for the first time. Basically, over the past, basically 10 months, 12 months, we have been looking into these WebXR platforms as a way to reach more people as, the uncertainty around putting people in headsets in the future grows, I guess is a good way of putting it. And so we've worked on a lot of projects with art galleries and kind of museum type installations. And so this Twins XR space was our big kind of client and push into the mainstream, hopefully. And yeah, it's just been a really good project. It was basically, they were going to do a real life Hall of Fame type event at Target Field. And of course, like everything else, that got canceled, and kind of was our really good foot in the door to do a test space, but like a really polished, really well done test space, just to continue to explore this medium and like we said, deliver a cross device product that can be done in VR, which is cool because it connects to the VR that we have done for the past 3+ years, and also reaches the 99% of people that don't have VR equipment at their home, which it looks like maybe half of us in the room are doing just that. We'll get into more of the details. Let's do a little bit some other intros. So I think most of you guys probably know Ty from Wall Ride. I'd say wave, but none of us have hands. Yeah, do a headbang. Yeah, Ty and his team. Ty's worked with Amir on previous projects, especially with stuff that's in kind of the REM5 STUDIOS space, where we're producing experiences ourselves for clients and more specific content experiences. But Ty, do you want to just give the spiel about Wall Ride and anything else you'd like to say?
Oh no, I think I probably know everyone in here, but yeah, Wall Ride, we do video games and virtual reality and rad experiences and stuff. We're super excited to get on this project, not only to do something else with the Twins, but WebXR actually, I didn't even know about WebXR before this project, and turns out it's really badass. So we're super excited to work with REM5 on this and figure out the workflow and everything, and it's just amazing to see people on their phones and on desktop and VR all be able to come together and chat. Also, Billy from Wall Ride's in here. Billy did a lot of the 3D work and stuff over here. He's over in the corner. So what up, Billy?
Yo, what's going on?
Yeah, very excited.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks. Well, yeah, I mean, Ty and Billy were great to work with. This project was a lot of learning for both of us. Like I think we talked a little bit before the meeting got started about how we were streamlining images and really focusing on getting the model small as humanly possible in order for it to load, especially on mobile. And then our third kind of leg of the stool is Anthony over here. Anthony comes to us from the XP Portal team out of Austin, Texas. So he has been surviving the last couple of weeks down there with everything that's been going on. But we've been really glad to have Anthony on board. He's a WordPress whiz, I think, more historically, but has been playing in the hub space for the last couple of years and really become one of the, I guess I would say, the experts in that realm. So it was great to have Anthony on board. Anthony, do you want to say anything or do any plugs at this time?
That was a good intro. Yeah, just XP Portal, just so everyone here knows, we are a managed Hubs Cloud platform. So we are aiming to release a product that anyone can go in a control panel and click a button to create their own hub space. So yeah, stay tuned on that.
Yeah, so I think that between the three kind of those groups that I talked about, anything from kind of the client side, working with the Twins, working with the general public, questions can come to Amir and I. Anything about kind of the design, getting the model right could be with Bill and Ty, and then anything about just hubs, scaling, and then the UI that we worked with on Anthony, he would be your best resource for any of those questions. So yeah, pretty casual. Looks like we've got a pretty full house here, which is great. We don't have to do anything super specific as far as like talking about the Twins in the space. If you guys want to explore after the meeting, feel free to do that. I think we can just kind of go around, talk a little bit more about any design decisions that kind of came up. Like I said, the workflow to get to this point, and then finally, flipping the switch and getting it out to the public. So I'll just kind of start with some of the design decisions where we've already been. You guys came into kind of this spawn lobby. We've been having to work a lot with people on, like, it's become really simple and second nature to us because we've spent literally hundreds of hours in this platform. But we take a lot of pride in making sure that, like, the very general public from ages 6 to 66 and above, whatever, can all use the platform. And like we've seen, you put a 12-year-old in here and WASD, okay, cool, like, Minecraft, Fortnite controls, got it, and they're off and running, and you can't actually catch them. They're like already gone doing their thing. And then a lot of our client base outside of this project is, an older corporate crowd, higher education crowd, and so again, some of them will get it, and a lot of them it takes a little bit. So we really like to hit people with onboarding. The twins made a really cool video for us, and then when you spawn in, hitting them with all of the instructions again, just because it's like you literally can't say it enough times, and it's one of those things that we tend to forget because it's second nature at this point. But when you're really releasing a product to the public that, like even Ty was saying, and a lot of people in the VR space, the WebXR stuff is just kind of coming into its own, and so this was brand new, not just for untech people, but even for some of the tech audiences as well. So yeah, that was just some of the considerations, making the space super wide. So even if you're having trouble with the controls, like you're getting around really easily, that was something we worked with Ty and Billy a lot on, of like literally just how wide should the hallways be. And then a couple other things too, so the room we're in right now is we call the atrium. It's kind of this first big wow moment. We wanted to have this nice reveal for when you walk down that initial hallway. Man, I gotta stop doing arm movements from behind my desktop. I'm like trying to point at things. I should have been in a headset, but it's sometimes it's a little bit easier to screen record and do a couple other things right now. So bear with me. But yeah, so we're in the atrium right now. So you can imagine, right? I'm walking out. I see this huge TC logo. I've got the big panorama of Target Field. We've got this open sky. It's kind of that mix. And we talk a lot about this with clients, especially on the custom projects. It's like, can we recreate reality? Sure, but why is the second question. We have all the tools to have a fun social event, but as I look out in the crowd, we're all baseballs, we're all in sweet Twins jerseys, we're able to talk, but like, why not do an open ceiling with big baseballs in the sky? And that was a piece of the puzzle too. That was a lot of fun between Amir, myself, Ty, and Billy to be like, they come to us with a lot of really cool updates and changes, and we'd be like, sweet, that's awesome. And then we'd come to them with being like, all right, well, let's try this. And so a lot of these really nice touches from the beginning, came from Ty, as far as like the logos on the carpet. We get the most compliments about the carpet out of anything. I've taken 100+ people through here on private tours, and everybody's like, oh my god, the carpet. And I'm like, you know what, it really is the little things. And like, right, it looks like it was just vacuumed. It's one of those things where you're like, the resolution on that works out just fine for this space. So a few things like that, where it's like you can have a lot of fun with this space. And from the twin side of things too, they were very hands off as far as like creative decisions. Get the players' names right, and that's about the end of it. We're like, all right, sweet. So we definitely lucked out, and like Ty said, a bit of a dream project, both from a client standpoint and the amount of leeway we had in putting this together. So a lot of those really nice touches throughout, team logos everywhere, team colors everywhere, the baseball bats as pillars. So, again, it's a lot of those things where how can we make something structural into something that's completely branded? And to go along with the first of many baseball puns, I think we really hit a home run as far as some of those design decisions go. We've had a lot of baseball puns over the last 4 months. So, I mean, the thing is, they work really well. Even if you're not a sports person, you'll find out that you're using them in conversation all the time. So don't judge me. Yeah, so like I said, big photos was a part of it. Like, how do we do a lot of cool historic content for like the average fan and then the diehard fan, right? So if I want to come in here just to check it out for 10 minutes, great, I had an awesome experience. If I want to come in here and read every single line of text for 2.5 hours, like I can also do that. So that was again that overarching consideration of making one cool space that works for everybody and is really accessible and easy to use.
It
cool.
definitely
That was a lot of talking. So yeah, Ty.
Oh yeah, it definitely started off like being influenced by the Twins Clubhouse. I think that was like the original concept. And then we decided to just take it a little more whimsical. It's like, all right, we're making this crazy thing no one's done. It's in VR. What can we do to make it, like a crazy spectacle in this space, rather than just some realistic, environment.
Yeah, well, and then as you think about it too, what we ended up doing, and I think Ty, this really opened up kind of your team's eyes to WebXR, was every step of the design process. The 4 of us, or 5 of us, or 6 of us, depending on who was all there, would meet up in a version of the space right in the platform we're in right now, and we'd walk around. We'd go up to the text and look at it. We would stand there and say, maybe we go a little bit higher res. Maybe but we should do this to save some space and literally walk it. We would walk the space, and as far as I think cutting out a lot of these middle steps that normally you'd be like, you'd look at it and be like, could we do this? We would just literally plop it in and walk through it. It was pretty incredible as far as an efficiency standpoint, I think. So yeah. I think both of our teams saw how much potential even just that has.
That drawing, there's like a drawing functionality that can be turned on. So like when we're walking around the space, like Brian can just scribble on the wall, like change this, change that, move this here. What if this looked like this? So it's super helpful.
Yeah, and so yes, Mr. Gaff. Yes.
When you were doing those VR sort of work sessions, were you mainly on PCs, or sometimes you had headsets on?
I would say similar to all the other times we're in here, it's 95% on desktop. We usually hop into headset just to check that functionality and to check resolution. But as far as being able to maybe especially with the client, we'd maybe meet on a Zoom first and then we'd send them a link and then hop into the space together. And so there was a lot of just advantages to just hopping in on desktop. And it's one of those things where we know that how cool and functional it is on desktop, and we just we want to take advantage of that. But yeah, so before Anthony helped us basically strip down this entire UI, if anybody hasn't been in a different hub space before, definitely go check it out. They updated their UI maybe about a month ago, and it's pretty slick, and they did some nice upgrades to it. But yeah, there's a lot of functionality that we actually took out of the space, because I think, like I said, our goals were for people to come in here, chat, roam the space, and that's about it. Because when you give people too much control, they do things with it, and the space would be filled with 3D hamburgers, and there'd be writings on the wall. And so you can imagine there was some thought to be like, how about we don't give people any tools? So in the design session, we can scribble on the wall. I can type something into chat and then pin it to the wall as a text item, be like, hey, can we make this bigger? Classic client bullshit, but it worked. And it was actually really helpful for all of us too, because we could go around and we'd put up basically Post-it notes, have a saved version of that space, and then be working in a new version of the space. And so it was a little bit of a balance to keep track of it, but again, super efficient and just literally doing updates in real time. So I think on that note, let's actually head to one of the clubhouses so we can get another change of view, and we can talk a little bit more about that. So as you'll see on our little map over here, it's a big circular space. There's 3 clubhouses and 3 media rooms. It's all very symmetrical. It's very easy to navigate. If you go in a circle, you're not going to get lost. We ended up getting these really nice chevrons on this piece of nicely vacuumed carpet, just to be like, hey, subtly, everybody should walk this way because it's in chronological order, without being a little bit more blatant with it. Also, if you look on your left, everybody's outside wall. We did some trivia too. So you'd read the trivia question, come down the hall and get the answer. So just a couple of things too that would help guide people kind of through the space, add some fun pieces to it. And then all this content, all this archival like photos, super cool. Really gives a sense of like, not only is it a Hall of Fame, but it's a Twins, memorial to the game and to the team. So we had access to their archives and their curator and got a hold of some really fun and really cool photos. Another quick design decision I'll point out while we're in this hallway are these big window cutouts. We did those for a couple of reasons. One, it's cool, and we're floating out in baseball heaven or something. We haven't really decided where we're at, but it works and it's fun. And then also, the cutouts give you a view of sometimes some of the other rooms and buildings in the space. For in headset, because a lot of those before it was just blue, and when you're in headset, sometimes those big swatches of color, you start to lose depth, and it gets a little bit tough to read in headset. So yeah, that was another great kind of solve that Ty and Billy came up with for that. All right, so let's all come and gather around this huge bat in the middle of the room if you want, or take a peek around the outside. This is Clubhouse 1. I'll even get up on a pedestal here. This is the first of 3 clubhouses, so a little bit more like logistical knowledge. We had 34 Hall of Famers, and so we divided them up into 3 rooms. And then also, now this is chronological, so this is a lot of guys from the 60s and 70s that played at the Metropolitan Stadium. Each clubhouse went to serve, like Ty said, so this is loosely based on the actual Twins clubhouse. So it's kind of this oval-ish shape, and they have the real wood lockers that every player keeps their stuff in, and then they actually have the retired numbers above the lockers in the locker room. So taking a lot of real-world reference in this space, and it ends up just laying itself out nicely to take in the content. So you can imagine you could go around the room, read all the people's, look at the photos, and there's enough space for other people to be in here. There's enough space for people to walk behind you on those upper layers. And so just, again, kind of grandiose. Let me pop down here. Grandiose space, open ceiling, just because why not? And then we've got these big hero items, as you might have noticed, the 7-foot tall baseball bat that's floating in the middle of the room. So this was all mocked up off of Harmon Killebrew's actual bat that hit the 520-foot home run. So we had a chance to really create some very unique pieces of Twins history and lore even behind some of these items. And so each clubhouse has an item dedicated to a player in that clubhouse and to like that time period as well. So that's kind of the general layout is like, right, each clubhouse has players in it. We have a hero object in the middle. And then if you want to check it out too, there's this film room. The Twins cut us up three videos that we have playing on a loop in there. There's audio gradually as you start to walk in. Those videos feature all of the players that are in this room. Again, a nice tie-in, a nice piece of content, and a really funky beat. If you want to dance, definitely go in there and check it out because it is awesome.
Brian, did you guys consider like having some more interactive things for folks, like where you could like hold the bat, or is it just too complex for beginners?
Yeah, and Anthony definitely pop in whenever. So there's some there's some abilities we can give, and we've done in. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So there's a lot of like mechanics that are built in. Like I see you're in VR right now. So if you look up, you've got that UI that's kind of sitting above your head. Those simple mechanics are kind of there, but we were on a pretty tight deadline. And also one thing to keep in mind, like as Brian was saying, we wanted the experience to be super simple where they can just get through and not get too complicated. So grabbing objects and things like that, like those mechanics absolutely do exist. And if you look at the Hello WebXR demos from Firefox, those are a really good example of how to achieve that. So it's not that it's impossible, it's more like it was a time constraint of like figuring out how to network that, because what you're trying to do is network that state of being in somebody's hand across many players. So some of those things that we had to figure out and kind of solve right now, it doesn't exist in hubs yet.
Sure, got it.
And Greg, a lot of those too is like continue to have like a wish list where, you know, hey, let's get through this first event, and then really think about, you know, what are some of those things we'd love to do in the future, given the time and the budget and some less constraints than kind of getting to a point that you know, everybody's happy with and we put on a really nice space. So yeah, one step at a time, but definitely some really cool ideas for the future.
I want to compliment the design of the room, the ring and the benches, which I think are sort of ironic in a way, but really make it sort of give it a homey feel. It's a really nice feel.
Yeah, it's laid out.
Because there's very limited interactivity, how can we make it kind of fun to navigate? And I think, you know, making it so you're not just walking straight through and you can go around this area, you can go down here, you can go up here. You know, when you go into the film room, it feels like you're descending, you know, you found your seats and you're descending down onto the field, and we have that railing with the grass down there. So we really tried to make this space as interesting as possible just to navigate through.
One more question, just sort of for the whole group. How many of you seen a baseball game, professional baseball game?
In real life?
Holler. Yeah. Woo.
Yeah, I mean, there's field trips during public school.
Ooh. What's that?
Someone buys my ticket, I'll be there.
One of like we were talking about when we first came in is my father was a sports reporter, so I've been to all three stadiums and seen lots of games and watched the World Series in one of them. And this group is not necessarily a big live sports going to group usually. So it's sort of ironic that what you guys really, to use the pun, a home run. It's really cool.
I got a question, I think, for Billy here. As far as this back goes, did you just texture it with photo reference to make it, or did someone 3D scan it, or?
Yeah, for the bat, I just took a picture that I think Brian sent me of the bat, and then I just kind of modeled it and slapped the photo texture right onto it.
Yeah, it looks pretty faithful to the real thing. Nice job.
Thank you.
Yeah, you can like almost taste the pine tar if you get close enough. You get on in there. It'll open up your nasal passage a little bit with the smell, but. Yeah, I mean that was one of those things that just turned out great. Really added to the room. Such a cool like historical tie-in. Another one of those things where it's not the real thing, but there's also a good chance you might never see the real thing in real life. And this is pretty dang close. And you know, kind of the thought that's behind it being larger than life is that A, you see it right away when you walk in, and B, it falls back to the question of why would you make it the size of a normal baseball bat?
Right.
It'd be this tiny little thing. So have a little fun with it, and then you get to really see that detail. You get to see the signature. You get to see the pine tar, and it's just a really well done piece. Let's head over to Clubhouse 2, just as long as we're gonna probably just catch them all. We've got different objects in them and different content. So, and I think a lot of people too. It's the best photo in the entire space. I saw that one. I'm like, it has to be in here. It's so cool. Clubhouse 2. This celebrates the 80s and 90s, which, of course, for a lot of Twins fans is, you know, it's the heyday. It's the Metrodome. It's the World Series wins. So this was definitely a very important room. as you'll see, there's a massive commissioner's trophy that I believe, Billy made, or I don't, who was fully involved in that one, but I'm just going to guess that Billy was doing all of them. So,
Oh yeah.
yeah, again, great, like using photo reference, larger than life, some really cool lighting that was done to it just to give it some texture and some depth. And
Yeah.
yeah, it just really ties in this the space.
Yeah, the trophy turned out really cool. We had to do a lot of, we had to get very creative with our optimization.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say the lighting looks better on it since the last time I was in here.
we took your feedback.
Dig the
Yeah, and I guess that brings up maybe a good point that I haven't spoke to yet. So there's only 5 or 6 different objects in this entire space. So the one main object, of course, is like the entire structure, and that includes all of the lockers, all of the clubhouses, all of the content everywhere, and then each of the objects in the clubhouses, and i.e. the trophy here, is its own object, basically placed into Spoke, which is the engine that we put all the pieces together in. And yeah, so as far as that goes, I mean, that was pretty important in getting it down to a pretty manageable number. And again, Ty and his team did an amazing job at getting us there. Yeah, so the only things that's really like calling up are those 4 models, and then each of the videos is placed in as its own asset that's loaded in on the back end.
We were very selective with our because the space was pretty big. We were very selective with our lighting. So you'll notice there's like a ambient occlusion kind of thing under some objects where it makes sense. So like underneath here is really just a quad with a gradient on it. So any shadows like that are totally faked. All the lights up there are quads with a texture on it. So we had to get very creative to get this to run smooth, but it was super fun.
Could you speak towards just a little bit about Spoke and sort of, if not everybody sort of been in hubs, sort of what Spoke is and what you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, we've spent a fair amount of time in Spoke. If you haven't checked it out yet, definitely give it a whirl. It was one of those things that I think, especially for Amir and I, not coming from a 3D background per se, there was a bit of a learning curve. But what we get to basically do with it is it can be a blank canvas for bringing in 3D objects, images, 360 photos, and it's the back end where all of these pieces that Ty and his team built, and then bringing in like the skybox, and then basically allowing the avatars to roam it. That's where all of that magic comes together. So then once we build the room, right, this virtual experience in Spoke, that's where we send it to Anthony. Anthony gets it up, and that's where we've created basically the different rooms and instances that this space is running in, and then basically how everybody can hop in as their avatar and have a shared social experience in the version of the room. But I think Spoke's pretty slick. Again, not coming from much of a technical background, I think the first time I sat down and like it was about 8 hours later, and you get to a point where you're like, okay, cool, you can start to get a little bit quicker with it, and it's one of those things too where you can every single object can be rotated and placed and like very meticulously set up, which I think compared to some of the other builders, like if you've done anything in Frame, or not A-Frame, but FrameVR.io, it's another online WebXR platform, you actually don't get that type of ability. So yeah, Spoke's really slick, and I mean,
when you're doing the Met, I was very impressed. We just sort of wandered in there almost for fun, and with a bunch of people who were experienced computer graphic designers and stuff, and it was relatively impressive, and again streamlined though to make it sort of easy to use. I was impressed. So.
My McDonald's has it.
Yeah, well, and that's the other thing too, and that's that whole part of working with Ty and Billy and Anthony, is that it's all pretty much in real time. Like we would add in the new model from Ty, publish it, and then we'd all meet in it. We'd refresh our page, and the new model would come in, and we'd be like, "All right, cool. Let's look at the changes." So instead of something that'd be like, "Yeah, we'll get it to you, next week," we would be able to do stuff within minutes, and it was pretty slick.
Sorry, I'm asking so many questions. Where are the videos hosted from?
Those are coming straight
so
from the server with Cloudflare workers being the CDN between the viewer and the server, so that we were able to kind of ease the load on the server by using Cloudflare as like the middle provider of those assets, and it worked out really well.
Awesome. Well, let's just might as well check out the third clubhouse. Again, same construction, different players. This will focus on more of a little bit more of the target field era, and then up to the modern day.
That would be the non-World Series era.
We don't talk about that.
Yeah. I figure there aren't anybody from the MLB here, so from the Twins. So
I think it's a rule. Brian just kicks people that bring it up.
They're always listening though. So.
oh, sorry.
The MLB actually did plant bugs in the space. That was part of the contractual agreement. So.
Oh, really? I'm sorry.
I'm just kidding. Kind of, maybe. I don't know. They might have. So this is Clubhouse 3. You'll see a lot of the the more modern players. We had to do a little bit of a stretch between like, okay, these guys all weren't exactly target field, but 3 stadiums, 3 clubhouses. We had to take a little bit of liberty there. Something I wanted to bring up that was really cool, and I just posted a video to it to YouTube, and I'll try to share it out to Zach afterwards. But basically, we did a press conference in here on the Tuesday before it opened. And we actually had Michael Kadire and Torrey Hunter from their phones, which is beyond us because like we don't recommend coming in on mobile, but like you can do it. And so 2 Hall of Famers joined us for a tour in this space, just like you and I are standing here. It was me standing, 6 feet away from Torrey Hunter, and that was pretty awesome. And I think that's where this discussion tends to go is access to players, really unique VIP level experiences where it's like, hey, we've got this open and free for the public, come and check it out. But at the same time, with enough coordination, you're getting again, access to those types of conversations and those stories that couldn't be done any other time. Like I'm not going to ever meet Torrey Hunter in the real world outside of building a Twins XR. So, that was really cool. Sorry, baseball thing for non-baseball fans. Torrey Hunter was basically the most energetic and awesome to watch player of like the turn of the millennium. And he's a Hall of Famer, and I think overall recognized as one of like the really cool Twins and like a really nice guy. So yeah, it was awesome. And we get him in here, and we got press with us. It's kind of we're doing a walkthrough with our client from the Twins, and they just start telling these stories about how we're standing around this baseball here, and it was during maybe the 03 season or something. They were doing one of the tours around the state that they do, and Harmon Killebrew actually told him, no one's going to be able to read your autograph years from now because he used to just write it as TH, and nobody like TH, who's that? And so just stuff like that would come up like naturally in these spaces, and again, you wouldn't really get to elicit that type of story outside of being near these objects and like being in this type of very baseball and Twin centric environment. So that was we knew the potential of that, but that was an actual super eye-opening experience. Just something to think about if you're thinking about these spaces or types of experiences. That's where you can add a lot of value.
Man, that's a good sales pitch for future franchises, huh?
Yeah.
I'm trying my bestest. We'd love to, again, I think between the 3 of our teams here, we basically had to do a ton of work to open up that door to the league, especially, and to professional sports in general. So if you know anybody, send them our way. We'd love to have more conversations, because it really is limitless. Something that comes up a lot is when am I going to come in here and watch a game? And it's like, well, yeah, that's a no-brainer. I think that there's probably a ton of legal hurdles around streaming a Major League Baseball game into a shared online space that I don't want to think about right now. But that's the first thing that everybody asks when they get in here. So there's got to be, there's something there for sure. Especially with, they just announced they're looking at doing 10,000 people, which is 28% of target field for opening day, and moving. That's like kind of the number they're playing around with. So that's what, 40,000 fans who still aren't going to be in state. This season's not going to be markedly different than last season as far as like really getting people into the ballpark. So yeah, tons of potential here. We'd love to just continue to explore it with the Twins. They've been a great partner on all of this. So here's to that. And I think I'll just kind of leave it on that. If anybody has any more direct questions, we can break off into groups. This room will just stay open, so feel free to walk around. Ooh, actually, one more thing before we either have more questions or break off. We're actually going to do, it's pretty fairly official. We're going to do a concert in here on Friday. So again, that really, it really falls into our playbook of like multi-use spaces. We've done live streams into stuff like in headset at our physical REM5 before that Matt was at, that, was pretty good. It was an experiment for sure, but we're gonna, it's Nerdy and Mickey Breeze. They're two kind of local kind of hip hop rap guys from Minnesota. They're kind of up and coming, and we're down to do it. So we're gonna do a live stream into here on Friday, probably at 8 p.m. and that's probably going to be announced tonight or tomorrow because it's almost Friday already. But that's something we're pretty excited about, and we'd love to have everybody come back out for that, because that's going to be one of those things where, as we've learned, and I think we were talking about that earlier, these spaces do really well with like very focused time-based events. And so this is going to be a big test and testament of that this weekend. It's like, all right, can we get, a few hundred concurrent in here? And even if people are confused about the technology, like they'll still click the link and come try it out if they can come see a concert. So we would love to have you all back. It's free. Yeah, it's free. So tell your friends, bring your friends. We'll set something up. So on that note, I don't know, Anthony or Ty, any final things? Oh, sorry, what was that?
How do we find out more about that?
So it hasn't even gone live yet. We just got like the contract signed this morning, which is a whole thing. But you can just take my word. You heard it here first that we're going to try to do it Friday at 8 p.m. And basically, you'll just come back into the room sorter, so you won't. This room will be updated technically, but go through the normal channels to like sign up for Twins XR and then go to the room selector there. I can also, I think if most of you have already registered, we can get you the bypass link to just get there anyways. But that's where all of those rooms will be updated. We're going to do some kind of funky stuff in the atrium. We're going to drop in the live stream there. And so, yeah, just so
8 o'clock on Friday.
And do some headbanging.
Yeah, and the URL is twinsbaseball.com/XR, right, Brian?
Yep.
Yeah, that's still to get to like the registration page. So if you haven't registered, do that, because that will help our numbers. And then that's another place too where if you haven't registered, they'll give you you'll register and it'll pop up and you'll get to the room selector. If you registered before it opened, you should have still an email with a link. There's kind of a gray area between having the link to come back in. So if you need a link, just reach out to me and we'll get you all set up, is kind of the end of the story. But yeah, twinsbaseball.com/XR will be is kind of where we've worked with the Twins to kind of house a lot of this information and of course taken a lot of learning, from that. You can make something super simple and you'll find out that people will still surprise you with what they thought of something or like they didn't understand about something. So any feedback, we'd love on the whole experience, but luckily, this isn't everybody's kind of first rodeo in this room. So you guys kind of have a pass on that, but yes, I will stop talking because that's been way too much. But thank you again, everybody, for coming out. We can still do some questions and hang out, but yeah, thanks again.
Yay!
Thanks.
Yeah, nod your heads, people. Nod your heads.
Yeah.
Headbang. Yeah.
Yeah, a couple of questions about kind of tuning the space. So you said a lot of the focus was on not VR, but what was kind of the min spec? Where were you hitting bottlenecks? Was it on textures or polygons or certain phones? What did you pick as the
all
low
of the
end?
above.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think they have every device ever, and maybe all of the ones that are getting released in the future. They tried it on everything.
I think that specific.
Yeah, we went into old phone drawers and like pulled out iPhone 5s, and that's kind of where I think we hit the limit of the page failing to load. I mean, that was maybe that's a Ty. You can kind of go into that a little bit more. Basically, we had a point where we had the model and it wouldn't load on mobile, and that was something we didn't quite promise, but we know for a younger generation, like if it can't be on your phone, it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of a must-have. But then, yeah, Ty, do you want to speak to like how we basically had this huge jump in size, jump down in size, and then we were kind of smooth sailing from there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, lots of tricks. Like I mentioned before, like we didn't even make a light map. We just made selective fake lighting. We did, I think the biggest hurdle was the amount of high res photos in here, as you can see, looking around, and making sure that those were still, readable on the walls. So lots of texture atlasing, lots of cutout shaders and faked lighting. And then, we used a very kind of selective palette and flat colors, and basically used geometry and color swapping where we could create depth instead of having actual lighting. So I mean, it was a lot of like I almost want to say old school game development tricks to make it happen.
Like PlayStation 1.
Oh yeah.
But
we have
textures.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I was curious, maybe for somebody else, what about tuning audio? I've noticed as we're walking around, the distance is well suited to like a group of friends, and then it drops off quickly, maybe too quickly for our large group of 20 people or 15. Was there tweaks to the audio?
Yeah, we definitely just had to land on a happy medium, and there's a lot of different distances that we played with across other spaces that we've built out. And so, yeah, the thought was, like, say we have a group in this room, like, we want to be able to kind of reach everybody, but at the same time, you don't want this audio to carry over to one of the other clubhouses. So, again, in theory, in our brains, you would have maybe 4 small groups going through the space, and just like in a public space, like, your audio is going to mix with people you're nearby. Like, that's no different if you're at a museum or at the baseball game, whatever. But at the same time, you have the ability to be able to get away from those voices if need be for a number of reasons that, of course, I'm sure you can make up in your minds right now. And so, yeah, that was definitely a consideration. And we kind of landed on one that, yeah, it was, had a pretty hard cutoff. So you had to stay close, just because, I mean, I'm even one person that, like, between, tinnitus and other problems, if I have a bunch of different voices in my head at one time, like, it just adds to the other voices that are in my head, and that's way too many voices. So, yeah, it was just like, and Matt, I don't want to talk about it, okay? But it really is one of those considerations where, especially like when people are coming into the lobby, like we don't want them to be bombarded with a bunch of other stuff, just because people are going to get deer in the headlights kind of thing going on and just like click out or freeze up or whatever. And so, yeah, in Spoke, like we talked about, you have a lot of ability to adjust that. You can't adjust that, I don't believe, Anthony, in real time. There's some preferences you can have on a personal level as far as like media volumes and other volumes, but as far as our spatial audio goes, we kind of set that on the back end, and then when we publish it, that's where it is.
Yeah. And you can hard code those values too in your own custom client. It is actually possible to do that, but it's best to use Spoke, because Spoke is the best way to do that.
And is there volumes or cutoffs, or is it all just distance between avatars? Like, is the hallway a separate sound area, propagation area than this room?
Yeah, each avatar basically has their own circle around them, and so as I move further away from you, eventually I'll cut off there or slightly kind of decrease. Yeah, it's definitely it's an interesting middle spot to find, because you just know that when we think about the kind of the least common denominator of a person in the space, you want to give them enough room to lag behind and not just thinking about the person that's like I know you can hear me, I'm coming back to rescue you, it's everything's okay.
Yep.
So yeah. And then when we have a group like us in here, it's kind of a no problem for people to figure out that they're close enough and that so I think that's kind of. Anthony, is there anything you've kind of had from other types of experiences or other types of rooms that have worked well? I mean, the biggest thing too is when we try to have like really tight circles so you can have a private conversation. That's not that's not built as well into hubs as it is maybe in some of these other kind of spaces that are a little bit more dedicated to like breakouts in these small tight knit conversations. But I think for the most part we try to find a middle ground. But Anthony, I'm not sure if you have any other experiences with things that have worked better in other situations.
I think it comes down to if you're going to be in a room with strangers that you don't anticipate becoming friends with, then you want those tighter circles, you want those wider circles where you're not or you're not hearing people that you don't know. But like in this case, like we are in a meetup, so it's more purpose audio settings, I guess. Like it entirely depends on your use case.
Yeah.
And that's what's great about Spoke though, is that you can set those on a per scene level so that you can decide what makes sense for this room. So maybe it makes sense that we have a separate Spoke scene for meetups, right? Like those need to have a certain audio parameter kind of preset.
Yeah, that's super smart. I guess we didn't really even think about that. Since this is our kind of our private off the grid one, we definitely could have done that. But yeah, maybe. I think for the most part, it's making it enough. I mean, you have the ability to have just like not to turn off spatial audio, which I would imagine would just be kind of a nightmare, but also less taxing on the scene overall. So another one of those trade-offs that there's what is the perfect thing. I mean, it's just a lot of testing and figuring it out. And for a lot of that too, it's like, you have to publish it. I would meet up with Amir in here and we would just walk until we couldn't hear each other and be like, all right, gotcha. It wasn't super scientific. That's kind of one thing. And maybe it's just something that I don't know how to do yet on there. That's one thing I wish hubs and Spoke would have, would be like in development, I just have a big circle around me that shows exactly like where that audio is going to go to. Because visually, I mean, that just makes so much more sense than
or even to set up like audio triggers where you walk into a room and your circle is widened and into a small hallway it's closed. But I don't know, maybe they're thinking about those features for the future. Be kind of nice.
Yeah, there's a couple trigger pieces in Spoke, and Anthony, I don't know if you've touched those. There's a few things that we haven't even kind of maybe even experimented with yet because we haven't had the need to. But yeah, agreed. All of that would be awesome. I mean, so features like, right, I could have a megaphone on right now, everybody else is muted and everybody can hear me perfectly.
I hear they're working on that.
So
okay.
Yeah, I'm sure it's in the.
I think y'all should all follow the Hub's Twitter account, because I think they're going to be announcing, they did a hackathon apparently very recently, and they're going to be announcing sort of what the results are of that. And I think there's a lot of like features that they kind of did MVPs of that will be really exciting.
Good to know.
Nice. And also, I guess that's another thing. Shout out, of course, to them, because we had a couple tours with their entire, or a good part of their dev team, just where we'd be like, hey, and working, especially talking with Anthony too, like, is this setup going to work? What do we need for server size? Do you guys see any red flags as we're walking through here that we need to know about before we release this to a major sports team? And so, yeah, that was just really nice. They're very available. Almost too available. We were kind of like, hey, like, how do we like bring you on as part of the team and like pay you to help with some of these special pieces or kind of whatever. And they're actually not quite open to that at this time, which is interesting. But I mean, yeah, they're doing the Lord's work in general, for the good of the larger community. So again, huge shout out to all of them. Really cool people over there.
Yeah, and on the they actually gave us a really cool tool where we were able to do load testing on the server. So we do know for a fact that this can handle 300 people all at the same time hitting the room in like a span of a minute. So that is possible. We were able to write so I wrote a Lambda script to just hammer it out. I wrote a little bash script that just said loop through all of the rooms and populate them all and go through the steps. And it totally works. The server didn't go down. We saw a little bit of a load increase. Like it took a little bit longer to get into the rooms, but overall you got all the people in there. So we could have bumped the server up even more to handle up to 1,000 or more. It's just a matter of how you, and that's a good point too, is like how you bring people in. If you're trying to have a high traffic event, it's good to stagger them. So not send an email out to 50,000 people maybe all at once, and maybe make your list smaller so that you can put gaps between when that traffic happens.
And that's for
I was like, Anthony, can we bring in the bots right now? Bring in the bots.
No, we actually filled this. We mostly filled up this room. You know what? I can bring in the bots. No, we don't want to do that. I don't want to break it.
Could you have that many people in here, voice chat and like real people?
20 per room.
Oh, 20 per room. Yeah. I see.
That's our limit, and what we did that because of there's some restrictions, like a VR participant is way heavier on the load for every other device than a normal one. So you can fit up to about 30 in here with mostly no problem, but then it becomes a hassle for all of the participants. So we decided 20 was like the really good sweet spot, and it still allowed for it to feel populated.
And then you have multiple rooms, right? Multiple instances.
Yes, so there's I think we've got 10 on the homepage right now, so 10 times 20, we got 200 that we can fit, and we were increasing and decreasing that as the needs were kind of coming in, and it's important to do that too, because you don't want to have 20 blank rooms. That's not a good experience. So you might want to do 10.
Is the instancing done behind the scenes, or do they have to go to like a separate room if they get a notification that one's full?
And so they won't get a notification. So when you get into a hubs room and it's populated, it will tell you that the room is full and you can wait in the lobby until there's an open spot, or you can go to the homepage and just find another one. One thing that we did really well is we had a clear indicator of how many people were in a room out of how much space is available. So if it said 20 out of 20, you wouldn't click that room.
Got it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it looks like Ty had to go, but again, thanks to Ty and Billy from Wallride. Definitely check them out. I mean, you guys are familiar with them, but follow them on the socials. I'll give a shout out again to, we just started social medias for the REM5 STUDIOS account, which, Amir had kind of started from day one, but with this project, especially, it was a lot more public facing. So we kind of got our butts in gear as far as, a website and social media and pretending like we had that for a lot longer than just before this event. I mean, and like I said, we're open at our St. Louis Park space. I know a lot of you have VR at home, but do you have buffalo chicken flatbread pizzas at home? I don't think so. So I'm gonna do some super shameful plugs right now, but you guys should come out and see us. We're actually doing a really cool Friday special with VR and beers coming up here. So, or just shoot us a note and, we can just host you too. But but we'd love to see everybody over at the space, or, bring your kids or your families or whatever. Or, I mean, again, I know we're not quite in the space yet to be doing stuff in real life, but hopefully we get there soon. And REM5 would love to be a resource for VR meetups or for any other kind of social group that wants to, get together still safely and distance and whatnot. Just let us know. We're always here. But yeah, again, thanks everybody. I just got a tweet from Greg. Thanks for tweeting out, Greg. And yeah, hopefully we get to do more of this. We'd love to see everybody on Friday, and we'll start working on the second summer engagement that we'll have coming up with the twins. Probably quickly after this one ends. Which is
are you going to shut down the space this week, or will it exist online?
Yeah, so when we first talked, Zach, this was going to work out nice because the space was going to close this evening, therefore being open for 2 weeks, which, just a nice general amount of time to put a little bit of emphasis on, all right, you got to come check it out because it's not just going to stay open forever. The main thing behind that was server costs, in thinking that, right, with a lot of concurrent users and a lot of use, that's just going to be expensive to kind of keep the lights on. So it will be closing now Friday after the concert that I will see you all at. And then yeah, right, we'll still have the space, and that's what's kind of cool about it. Somebody in the press meeting was like, whoa, this is a time capsule for the Twins. And I'm like, yes, that's an awesome way to put it, because, we could spin this back up at any time, right? It's like a reprisal next year where, the Virtual Hall of Fame is back or whatever. Like, that's not, too many obstacles, and plus we have the model, right? So even in a different platform or a custom build, Matt, it'd be great to you could have something that lives on, basically forever. And a lot of our other spaces that we build, as far as like REM5 for Good, REM5 Studios projects, those are open 24/7 because they're like one instance, and we'll have a meetup in there, or it'll be an art gallery. So if a few people at a time want to pop in, like, that's not really a big deal. But something like this, we put a little bit of guardrails on it, and then we can evolve it and hopefully have this very long-term relationship with the Twins, that they're pretty well invested, even just into this first space, in that it's in everybody's best interest to kind of keep pushing. I mean, they're a first to market as far as professional sports go, which is awesome for them and us and everybody, and it's a great story. But now you have the growing pains or the general pains that go along with that. So we're all, we're heavily invested in the success of this and doing cool stuff and showing it to as many people as possible. So again, we thank everybody for checking her out.
Cool.
Thanks so much, Brian. This has been great. It's so great to
thank you for the tour.
Under the hood.
We got there eventually. I'm through 2 sodas from talking so much, and I'm sure I won't go to bed tonight eventually, but I'm like a little kid. I'm like, oh my God, I had sugary sodas and now I can't sleep. But it was good. I end up rambling a bit, but it's nice to kind of talk about everything that went into this, and just a lot of our considerations moving forward. I know we're all excited to just keep pushing the envelope, get it in front of the right people, and get the right people really excited about it has been the winning ticket here. And like I said, we've had a ton of success in the tech space over the sports space, almost, just because I'm like, I'll reach out on Twitter to anybody and be like, hey, you want to come check this out? You and I'll just pop into it and we'll do a private tour. And whether you're a air quote bigger name or just a guy doing a VR podcast, I don't care if you can help tell the story. Like, we're all about it. So that's been fun to see that and that's the whole pitch. This isn't just for Twins fans and just for sports fanatics. Like, this is a cool piece of tech that has its place, hopefully, for anybody. If I say it out loud enough, it's true. So it's good.
I was gonna say, from a VR perspective, this idea of just this walking tour really beats the pants off of sitting in a fake auditorium and just holding still.
Yes.
Like, it's really nice to get close to 3D objects and things on the wall and just moving through a space together. It's like a museum. It works really well.
And that goes back to my comment about the benches and the ramps and things. It draws you in. It makes you feel very different than a lot of experiences.
Yeah.
And another thing too with the avatars, what was funny is I thought we were meeting in REM5's instance, so I was like altering my avatar, getting ready, getting dressed up for tonight, and then I remembered, I was like, oh wait, we're in the Twins space. You don't pick an avatar, or you only pick an avatar. You can't upload your own. And I think that's a really good conscious decision to make with your experiences, because you want it to you don't want to have somebody dressed up as like Godzilla in your space walking around. Like, it's not a good look for your brand. But also, we all feel like we're in a baseball space, so we're not taking away from that story that we're trying to tell by having these different avatars. So that was cool.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, and that kind of goes back to the avatar. We didn't quite get into them except for talking about how freaking sweet they are, and the sunglasses are really cool. But
Yeah.
they they ended up solving a lot of not problems, but just like decision, right? So we had the 5 options, all historical jerseys, super cool,
Yeah.
tied into the brand, and then very right, very non-gendered, and it,
Yep.
you know, there isn't a race associated with it, which, you know, we're not trying to just skip around that, but it's like, hey, you can't. Even like a lot of the avatar creators, if you guys have used Ready Player Me, I mean, there's not enough options for
Right.
the diversity in the world, and so that's something that we've run into a lot, and where it's just like, all right, we can reach a really nice middle ground by doing this.
Yeah, even Facebook
so-
Horizon beta doesn't have enough avatar options yet. It's kind of
Yeah,
tricky.
I think
It's
I'm
kind
a
of like
super pale guy in there, which is not unlike normal, but
it's kind of like if you're making like avatar creation, you either need to go all in and cater to every single option, or do something that is abstract enough to where, you know, like
Yep.
your baseballs.
yeah. And I'm kind of surprised that, not that they would have maybe bought them out, but that there's not direct integration with Ready Player Me quite yet
Yeah.
in hubs, because it's so slick, and you know, it can be really cool, and a lot of times, like we did a meetup for kind of more of a corporate client, and so all of the people from their team had their Ready Player Me human avatars, and everybody who was like kind of these interns or like visiting you know, kids with questions were all the default hubs robots, and it was a nice separation, because you could just recognize like, who should I go talk to, and then like that kind of is what they look like in real life, so you get that kind of secondary sense of,
Yeah.
you know, it's a sense of I've met you before, which is wild. Which, I mean, even in our baseball avatars, you feel that way in space, because it's like, whoa, what up, Billy? I've never met you in real life, but we've like actually talked a lot in WebXR. And I mean, Anthony, we've been on Zooms before, but it's like, I know you as hearing you through WebXR. So I don't know. Yeah, it's like the future chat room or something. Maybe that's not a good reference, but it is interesting where, you know, that's what we like, at least as far as like away from Zoom, is this sense of space and
Yep.
feeling that you're really in the room with somebody, like especially Torrey Hunter. Like I was in the room with Torrey Hunter. There's not really I'm not questioning that as far as that
I
goes.
can vouch for that.
Yeah, totally.
Awesome. Well,
So-
yeah, I mean, again, thanks everybody. We're kind of keep going here. Unless we can chat and talk till whenever. If people want to explore the space, again, feel free.
Okay. The batteries die.
Twins XR will be officially open until the end of Friday night. So if you have friends or you want to give us a shout out and tell people they can come check it out, just using that normal Twins pathway and quick and not hopefully painful registration would be awesome and helpful.
Cool.
And
Cool.
8 o'clock on Friday.
Yeah, that's what we're shooting for. I got to check if the Twins actually have tweeted something out, because that will determine it. We did talk about 8 though. And, you know, hey, here's to experimenting with it too. I mean, right. So we're doing a live stream into it. We're hopefully going to have a lot of full rooms. It'll be, you know, a lot of people have done bigger and better stuff, but I think for us, it's this really big proving ground again, too, of multi-use space. You know, this isn't just a Hall of Fame. It's a social venue that happens to talk a lot about baseball. But, you know, the Twins did this big virtual Twins Fest about a week before this opened, and technically that could have just been done in here, or this could serve as a social space to watch that instead of just on Facebook with a bunch of, you know, drones, and it's not an actual immersive and a connected experience.
Yeah.
But that's what we just got to keep selling into them and keep those ideas going, as far as like, you know, we'll try to make it happen. We'll give it our best shot to make something cool work, and keep just pounding the pavement as far as using the space goes.
Yeah, I guess I just have one thing to say. I guess that might just be of interest to other VR users. I had the chance to go to a meetup inside the Museum of Other Realities. For those who haven't heard of it, it's like a VR art museum. A lot of art like tilt brush artists, and people are really good at writing like shaders and things like that. Just really cool stuff. But in terms of like the architectural design of like a VR space and like audio design as you traverse the space like with others, I think they're doing a lot of really cool innovation. And I highly recommend, if you get the chance, you do need like a desktop setup to use the Museum of Other Realities. But if you get the chance to go to a meetup, definitely do it. It's, you know, what are the most like high quality in terms of like audio fidelity and just the way the space is laid out. And like if you go around a wall and you're right next to someone, but like there's a wall in between you, like you won't be able to hear them. So I think in terms of like innovation, our spaces and like meetups and stuff like that, they're doing some really cool things. And I think this week they're actually going to be doing a meetup in there with the creators of Tilt Brush. So I can't remember which day that was. It might be tomorrow. I'm not quite sure, but yeah, just wanted to bring that up.
Say the name again.
Museum of Other Realities.
Yeah, let me check. I'm looking at Twitter right now because I saw that today.
Yeah. You can download it on
down to our
Steam.
February live talk event. Come on, museum. You got to give me a date.
PC based VR.
Yes, it is unfortunately only PC based.
Okay. Thursday at 6:30 Pacific time. So
yeah, so I think
Central.
I'm definitely gonna go there. Would love to see some of you as well if you're able to make it. So.
And Matt, I'll let you know. I've been having a couple of conversations, and I actually had her come and tour this space. But a woman that's worked with more a little bit has offered to do a private tour or get some of us who are interested set up. So
that'd be awesome.
I'd love to work with you to do some there because it's cool. I definitely haven't spent enough time in there, but it is really something.
Yeah, they are open to hosting meetups in there from like just any groups or whatever. You can talk to the developers. They actually give you like a presenter code to like plug into their auditorium, and they have like speaker abilities and kind of like what we've done in alt space where someone's voice is amplified and that sort of thing. But yeah, they have a big auditorium and they're open to other groups using it. I know, but yeah. Who was the person that you were talking to, Ryan? If you say.
Yeah, let me pull up the email real quick. Actually, when I was in here with her, she had a really good idea for our next go at this space. Kind of more of an event focused, another live stream. But I was like, that is genius. I'm going to borrow that from you.
Cool. But yeah, the event that I went to in there was with some of these sound designers who made like sound effects and placed them around in the Museum of Other Realities. So really cool. They're using I forget the name of it. It's like it's not just stereo audio. It's audio where if you turn it, you'll hear things from various. Yes, that's the right word. Yep. But
Yeah,
they actually. They have I think they had actually a programmer who made a custom audio engine for that game too. They're not using like they're not even using audio middleware. I think like Fmod or Wise. I think they're using a custom solution they built. But I noticed that even your own voice echoes in the museum slightly when you're in there. It uses your microphone input, so pretty cool.
Cool.
Awkward quietness.
All right. Any closing thoughts, Zach? Any other announcements of the group or anything?
No, thanks everybody for coming, and feel free to mingle and converse. We got to get Patrick to talk. He's been silent the entire night. Calling him out.
Yeah, I'm cool. How's it going?
There we go.
There he is.
Another person fell asleep on my tours.
Oh, no, it's great. No, I was gonna say,